Welcome to the SHT Podcast. This podcast is created by superhumans, for superhumans, and anyone else who wants to look, feel, and perform like a freaking badass. Your holistic health journey starts here. Rediscover how we...
Yeah!
Paul, sit your ass down.
Hey y'all, I had the honor and pleasure of being interviewed and videotaped for some course curriculum for the Nutritional Therapy Association. And so their media producer and videographer, Benjamin Pitts, came down and stayed with us in Vegas for a couple of days, and we shot some really good footage for their course curriculum. And then me and Ben actually connected really well and just got, first of all, we had a chance to cover some mind-blowing information in the course curriculum questions, and we also had some really, really great heartfelt discussions, and we wanted to share some of that information. So here is an interview that I did with Ben Pitts, and I hope you enjoy it. Wanted to get on here and capture what I felt like was some really, really good quality conversations and topics that we've had over the past couple of days. So I had an opportunity, the honor and the privilege to have someone from the NTA, the Nutritional Therapy Association, come down and videotape me for lack of a better term, it's like to put in the curriculum, right? Mm-hmm. Put in their curriculum for practitioners, and specifically it was around fitness and nutrition and just our take on that kind of stuff. And Ben here is from the Nutritional Therapy Association, and so we had a really good video session for half of the day. I got Colby Phillips, my fitness mentor and the owner of the CrossFit Combine, to come in here and say a few words. And then since Ben was in town for a couple of days, we just decided to show him around a little bit. We went to a park, try to get some good shots of Vegas. We had some good conversations on the way there. We had some good conversations at the park. We had some good conversations at dinner. And I was like, man, some of this stuff is just golden. And I can't remember any of it off the top of my head right now. So I was hoping we could maybe go through chronologically and try to remember some of those good discussions. So that's what this is about, really. We're just having a discussion with Ben here from the NTA. So Ben, if you could introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, that'd be awesome.
For sure. Yeah. Paul, thanks for having me. I'm glad that I was able to come into town. So I actually live in Portland, Oregon. I work for the Nutritional Therapy Association as their media producer. That's what I'm called now. And basically, I'm in charge of all the videos for the courses. And our courses are mostly online. We meet for weekend workshops and stuff like that. But they're all around the world. And
What are around the world?
Our courses are, we've got...
online around the world.
We've got some people watching online, access, in several different countries. But we actually have full-on workshops in Australia.
Oh, that's right.
Now.
Yeah, we actually have a big NTA movement over there, as I understand,
Generally, I try to get out as much as I can to interview with people, and it's been few and far between because I've been really busy working on the module videos. But I met you, Paul. We talked 2 years ago.
2 years ago at the conference.
Yeah, the NTA conference
up in Portland,
and it was 2017, and it was great. Mm-hmm. And had just a short conversation there. But I said to the team recently that we need more people who are involved with performance nutrition and nutrition in other cities and doing things a little bit differently.
Plus, you're just awestruck by my personality and my confidence and everything else.
For sure. Of course, that was it. We just loved you.
I'm like beating down y'all's door. Actually, I'm emailing everybody that I know up there. Like, hey, when are you gonna get me up there to talk?
That might be why somebody.
What can I contribute? How can I be a part of this?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and we've got that. We got that from several people, and I think one of the things was somebody said your name, and I was like, "That's right, Paul." But no, your name was in the back of my mind for a little while, just because we were talking about this whole module we're doing on performance nutrition, which we've never done before, and what does that mean, and what's the reason for even talking about performance nutrition, and how do you break that down, and should there even be a difference in philosophy between talking about nutrition and the way of eating for people who move a lot and people who really work out, and even competitive athletes and the rest of everyone else.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody assumes that there is something different and special, and maybe there is a little bit of that. But like, what were your takeaways, or what would you consider to be like the big points that we covered, and maybe even things that maybe surprised you or that like were interesting that we talked about when we got on camera yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, we just set the camera loose and talked for over an hour, and I was even surprised to find, because I thought maybe you, especially since you work alongside the gym, that you were going to actually give me some more tips. That you
bust out some special protocols,
a little bit more special protocols, and some stuff that, and maybe you talk a little bit that way, or you cater a couple people a little differently than others in certain ways. But I think generally I was surprised and pleased to hear that it was, everybody needs to start from the same place.
Yes, absolutely,
and change their mindset on the way that they look at food.
Yeah, I think that was the big takeaway from our discussion, was just understanding that you don't need something special. Like, everybody, we work with, and I told you several times yesterday, I've worked with some pretty awesome athletes here locally, even abroad, and all kinds of different kinds of athletes, like long distance cyclists, marathon runners. I had one ultra marathon runner. And then a lot of CrossFitters here locally, some really amazing CrossFit athletes. And, I feel like the basics apply to everybody. And that was the big takeaway, because a lot of people come in here and they're like, oh, but I'm special. I need something different. I need a meal plan. I need a program that caters specifically to me and what I'm doing. And, of course, what we were saying is, well, I mean, everybody needs to eat real food. Everybody needs to nurture self-sufficiency, or what we call self-sufficiency, or metabolic flexibility, or the body's ability to create energy on its own, void of external inputs. And once you start to do that, performance and everything kind of takes care of itself. I think I really also, I don't know if we touched on this yesterday, I feel like training dictates hunger patterns too. So like a lot of times people go, well, do I need to eat different? Sometimes that takes care of itself. Like the caloric load takes care of itself, because if you're training really, really hard, an hour a day or a couple hours a day, a couple sessions a day, like you're naturally going to eat differently than someone who's not doing anything, because it's just your body gives you those kind of signals. And that's what I love about it. Like, I don't strategize. What I do strategize is trying to get as much nutrient density as I can, broadening my nutrient spectrum, and then just every chance I get, nurturing metabolic flexibility and self-sufficiency.
Yeah. And do you recognize that in people or do you ask them to recognize those signals in themselves and listen for that? Because we talk about listening to our bodies and
Yeah. Well, I mean, I try to have that kind of discussion all the time with everybody.
Yeah.
Just having a conscious participation in the eating process.
Like, even when are you hungry?
Yeah, when are you hungry? Like, just pausing. Like, am I really hungry right now? Yeah. Do I have to eat?
Why do you think you need to eat?
Or do I think I need to eat because I'm an athlete or something like that? I mean, I told you yesterday, like, I eat one time a day. I feel like I'm a relatively big guy, like, relatively muscular, and 200 pounds, 205 pounds, somewhere around there. And I don't strategize. I eat one time a day, but I just eat really good food, and I eat real food, so.
That's awesome.
I don't think it needs to be more complicated than that, and the majority of the athletes here in this gym are eating 2 times a day. Some of the bigger players here, the higher performers are, first of all, they're all on the SHT way of eating. And I always say, like, I'm not even trying to give credibility to that. They're real foodies. We're all real foodies. And we don't do powders and shakes and bars, and we're not eating every 2 or 3 hours, and we're not doing the oatmeal in the morning, and we're not obsessing about post-workout and pre-workout and all that kind of stuff. And our performance gets better and better and better and better, and our strength and conditioning and all that stuff just continues to improve.
Yeah, well, when you're working with those people here at the gym, and I understand you work with anybody, for nutrition, clients will come in and from all walks of life, and maybe some of them aren't involved in the gym as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And working out regularly. But when you are working with the people who are working out, they're just so used to, they probably tried several things. They're already paying a little bit of attention to what goes in their bodies anyway.
Yeah.
Even if they've come from a vegan background or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So most of them have taken that step, especially if they're going to join a gym like this, and not just a big box gym. And it's different for them, but
they're in our realm. Like, they're not like completely off rails when they come to see us, for sure. But it's like, that made me think of something. So it's like, just talking about how to strategize around eating around performance and stuff. I think what really messes it up is the complication and the planning, because you can't plan innate intelligence, right? So it's like if I'm trying, it's almost like I'm micromanaging my body. When I say I'm going to eat every 2 or 3 hours, I'm going to make sure I get this much protein every day, and I'm going to do that. It's like you're not giving yourself any space for intuition, right? But if I have a little bit more freedom built into it, and I say, hey, I'm just going to eat real food and follow these basic rules. No carbs in the morning, a little bit of carbs at night from real food sources, nurturing space in between meals so that my body can understand how to tap into its own fat source for fuel. And then I'm going to let portions dictate themselves based on, how I feel and how hungry I am. I think that's way more customized for an athlete than micromanaging and planning all my freaking meals out. It's almost like that is cookie cutter, because I'm telling you to do the same thing I'm telling everybody else. Eat this many calories and this many times a day or something. So it's almost like in the simplicity of what we do, it's extremely customized because you're going off of how you feel, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
that's
for
actually,
sure.
We didn't talk about that. That's actually a really good point.
I like that word micromanage, because if you micromanage your body, I don't work well with micromanagers anyway.
Yeah, the body doesn't either, I don't think.
Yeah. And if you have a boss at work who's a snake in the grass and watching every single thing you do, and every little thing has to be just this way, that might be even fine for some people for a little while, but I don't think it ever works long term.
And you want to rebel against it.
Yeah.
And I think your body wants to rebel against it, because it's like, hey, I'm not going to fit into this.
And it will. And that's why some of these programs, and people write books and just all kinds of stuff, and they're selling systems of including cheat days and all these different things of ways to kind of say, okay, well, let's try to figure that out.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what's there to figure out?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And then what is the SHT way? It's like freedom, simplicity, elegance, intuition, it's a different way of looking at things, and it works.
That's great.
It really does. It really works. So
some people are talking about that, but a lot of people don't have a real direct way to say it or to put it out.
Yeah.
Without either one of two things. Either one, they'll just get too general about it, and then you ask questions and they kind of give up, explaining exactly what they're trying to get at, which is really just keeping it simple and eating real food. Or two, they want to include some science in it. And I'm a big admirer of Rob Wolf and some of these guys, but not everybody needs to read a Rob Wolf book or understand that. And there's not really a system in that either. You just hope at the end of the book you're going to change your way of thinking about food, which is great.
Yeah.
And people need to know that why. That's why they come to our school.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with you guys, it's SHT could be a way to actually lay that out.
Yeah. It's like a lifestyle, but I agree. People benefit from understanding things at some level, and I think we talked about that yesterday. Like some people, if that's your thing, and you want to dig into the, all the different metabolic pathways and the way the body creates energy, at the cellular level, that's fine. That's not going to change what you have to do. What you have to do is eat real food.
Yeah,
and nurture self-sufficiency and metabolic flexibility, and it's like it doesn't change what we have to do, but some people like to learn that kind of stuff. What else did we talk about yesterday? Talked about broadening nutrients. As an athlete, you definitely don't want to be restrictive. If you're looking to have optimal performance, you definitely don't want to think in terms of restricting things. So I'd say, definitely not restricting calories, but also thinking in terms of I want to give the body the most that it can work with. So just always, with the meats, bone-in, skin-on, fatty cuts, going for organ meats when you can, shellfish, a lot of superfood type stuff. Talked a little bit about the plant matter, was there anything that was really interesting around all that stuff that we talked about? Yeah,
there might have been some interesting stuff. I'll have to go back and look at some of that footage. I know it was great. We talked a little bit about just, why keep it diverse? Well, in a way, could somebody eat just meat, or could somebody eat even just vegetables?
Yeah.
And
it's like you want to give the body the most that it can work with. It's like you want to give it access to everything that it could possibly need, while at the same time not overwhelming it. So I think that's why nutrient dense foods is optimal and balance is optimal, and then also paying attention to your hunger patterns. Because if you just ate nothing but salad and you trained brutal in here for an hour a day or or more than that, like you definitely that wouldn't satiate you. Over time, like you start to run into some issues or something.
You would. And the one thing I'd also throw out there is that we train nutritional therapists at the NTA, and so the therapist will go out and they'll be able to work with clients who are having histamine reactions to certain foods that they're eating. They're having really bad digestive reactions, even blood sugar stuff. And so there's a diversity of food and eating real food. But for some people, they're just going to have to take out some stuff. Yeah. Some of the big culprits are, nuts or peanuts or, odds and ends. So it's really
funny that the main culprits are usually like something plant-based.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not that it's funny, but it's sure. Like, meat gets such a bad rap, but it's like, I don't know many people that are genuinely like have reactions to meat. They think they do, but it's like, you are meat. But like most people have problems with nuts, seeds, nightshades, oxalates, histamines, there's just an infinite list of different
if you have an allergy to a food, quote unquote actual allergy.
An actual allergy, that's a problem.
It's a protein molecule within the food, and most of the time, it seems like 90% of the time, that's a plant-based thing. Yeah. It's either legume or nut or grain, or it's lettuce, which a lot of times these days can contain a lot of mycotoxins and molds and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Even the case of stuff you see at fast food restaurants or people kind of getting sick at Chipotle and that whole thing, that was all because of the salad. It's very rare that it's a meat issue unless there's an outbreak of a mad cow disease or something, but that's only going to happen in big factory farms. Otherwise you just aren't. Meat doesn't make people sick, and it doesn't make people fat at all, and it doesn't make people allergic to it. Nobody's really allergic to high quality meat. It's a strong statement, but it's crazy to think about that.
It's the truth. It really is. Yeah. What else were we talking about along those lines? Oh, you brought up something. Oh, it was on the tip of my tongue. It was something about broadening nutrient space. Oh, eating the same thing every day and then trying to mix things up, and so we're trying to give the body access to as much stuff as we possibly can, and it's also like a hormetic stressor. We talked about like polyphenols and polyphenol-rich foods, and if we have time when we're with our people, we facilitate experiments where people can bounce in and out of different phases to see what foods resonate with them. So that would be a way that we help people customize their way of eating, as we give them a general protocol. And then once they are comfortable with that general protocol, we start to move into like elimination, diets, like a low carb phase, a cleanse phase with no dairy, a cleanse phase with no nuts, seeds, and legumes.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, we reintroduce with awareness. Sometimes we can use the Coca Pulse test. Sometimes we can use I don't know what other self-testing techniques out there, aside from just like paying attention to how you respond to things, digestive issues and congestion and stuff like that. But
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it really is that. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what it's about.
So then we brought Colby in here and had him take his shirt off as an example.
That's right. Colby came in. If anybody checks out the website for you guys, it's just. And I just wanted to make sure we get the gym name in, but everybody
the CrossFit Combine.
CrossFit Combine.
Yeah, the CrossFit Combine.
I wanted to just say Combine.
Yeah. We talked about Colby's story with me, and of course Colby looks like Captain America right now. He when I first met him, he looked healthy, but he looked like a high school kind of basketball player or something like that. He was relatively lean, but you could tell fit. But like since he's like switched up his food and just gotten really dialed in with the sleep and the meditation and getting sun every day, like he just looks absolutely amazing. And that's where most of our people gravitate towards, But yeah, he came in here and gave us a story about cleaning up the diet and going through different phases of that. And now we're at this point. As leaders, we just try to be as spot on with it as we can, so that we can be the example. And what else did we talk about with him?
Yeah, I mean, he was saying the same thing you were saying, that there's so many people that are getting results from like timing out exactly what they eat and when they eat it, and take this protein shake at this number of grams of protein within 30 minutes right after the workout or before, and all this stuff. And it's like, man, that's after a while, it becomes a habit to where you're telling everybody else to do that because it kind of worked for you for a little bit.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to.
Well, and remember why we talked about why I think it works for some people is because it's making you be diligent with something. You know, so like if I go vegan from eating crap food, is it that I stopped eating meat or fat that made me feel better? No, it's because I cleaned up my diet. You know, if I start doing macros or zone or weighing out all my food and stuff like that, is it because I'm being neurotic that's making me healthier? Well, not necessarily. It's just that you're doing something better than you were doing before, and maybe there's even a better way. And we'd say our way is the better way because it's freeing and it's tapping into intuition and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's funny, man. We get people coming here all the time like, yeah, I just finished my cutting phase and now I'm going into a bulking phase. And we're like, yeah. They're like, what do you do? We're like, yeah, we just eat real food. That's it, No powders, no shakes.
And you just eat once a day.
Yeah. Not saying that that's what everybody needs to do, but
yeah. But man, we and then we
went to the park. We went to a little park, tried to get you some shots of Vegas because you were explaining that stock footage can be expensive and it's not even really that good quality stuff. So, did we talk about anything up there that was like
I'll probably go get the Welcome to Las Vegas sign after we're done here.
Yeah,
and luckily I can return the rental car and fly out of the airport. It's right next to that. But yeah, I mean, just getting some of those shots out of the park yesterday, it was pretty cool. And then we played frisbee with the dog. But then, just kind of impromptu, we're just like, let's go to dinner. You want to do it?
I remember what was my first response when you said, "Hey,
your first response is, man, I got to wake up at 3:30 tomorrow." But I don't know. I don't think I can do this. But you know what?
Well, I didn't even say it that nice. I was like, "No, man, I'm going to bed." And I was like, "Hold on a second, man. This guy's in from out of town, and offering to go to dinner." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean." I meditate every day, so I have this really I'm aware of my talk and my outside verbiage, internal verbiage, and I was just like, man, that was a really asshole-ish thing to do, to just say no, I'm going to go to bed. And this guy's in from out of town on a special occasion, and I was like, heck yeah, man, who knows what's going to come of this? It's an adventure, And sure enough, man, it was just an amazing evening. We went to Echo and Rig. The food was just incredible. Really good service, especially for the price. We got to bring our own bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Didn't pay a corking fee. And then we had some really good discussion. What was some things that we talked about at dinner?
The place was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm glad we went to dinner for sure.
What did we talk about at dinner? I'm just having these little images. I remember we talked a little bit about the membership stuff, and
we did.
You've had some really cool interviews because you've interviewed Joel Salton and
went out to Joel Salton's farm, Polyface Farms in Virginia. Sat him down for an interview video. I'll have to send you the link to that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I interviewed somebody named Karen Washington, and some people might know who she is. Some people might not. She started a conference called the Black Urban Growers Conference, based out of Brooklyn first, and then all around New York City. But she's a farmer, African American ladies, given a couple of TED Talks, and just spoken at Harvard, and just all over the place with her. She grew up in the Bronx, so she has this real attitude about we're going to find our way, You don't have to give us our way, but we're going to find it. We're going to, and so this whole thing of just kind of we're going to rise up, and it's really interesting to see because it just her talking about urban areas, food deserts, vacant lots in New York City filled with trash, and she's gotten commission of people together in the city councils of New York to turn those lots into community gardens, so cool. People can grow their own food. And she's trying to kind of get that message out all over the country. It's huge. So she's cool.
Yeah, and that made me remember when we were talking about how this grassroots movement for real food and just I guess you'd call it holistic health or something along those lines.
Yeah.
There's no stopping it. There was a time years ago when I was doing presentations here in Vegas, and I would tell people to eat butter and bacon, and they thought I was crazy. I'd have to go through a whole explanation and presentation about nobody knew what a GMO was. No one, organic was kind of getting to be a popular term, but, and nowadays, man, there's just such an awareness around this stuff. And it's there's so many intelligent people, that know and see what's going on. So it doesn't matter, where the food industry goes, what direction, like something that we would consider, suboptimal goes. It's like there's people that are like watchdogs watching all this stuff, and this grassroots movement is taking hold because, I remember we talked about this, it works. Like real food works. Something that looks like CrossFit works, if you do it right. Like it's just, and that's why those things are getting to be so freaking popular. I think the way we segued into that was you were talking about there's a higher percentage now of practitioners that come into the NTA program that are athletes and CrossFitters and things like that.
Yeah, a little bit higher than
what was the percentage you were talking about before? Like,
yeah, I mean, used to, and I just heard this through some staff, but it would have been, we would have counted on maybe 5% of people are just really CrossFitters or athletes, regularly work out. Let's say more than 2 days a week. Most of the folks, and it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but most of the folks they were unhealthy people who needed some help and also wanted a career change. There's a lot of opportunities for people coming out of the NTA to do different things, but they just, essentially, we've started seeing more diversity of everybody. But yeah, I'd say it's a little over 10% are people who are working out like crazy. Yeah. And a lot of those folks, though, they've always been sort of rebels because nobody was talking to them. Exactly. They were eating bacon and just like not telling their friends that they eat bacon. Yeah. And they were eating butter and they were doing this stuff. And it was like, but they were also eating margarine and stuff for a little while too. Yeah. I think we all came from that background. We were all told that's what we needed to do. Yeah. Now, I remember the NTA conference last year. Like there's, it's a really healthy looking group. Yeah. It really is. And a lot more athletes. Yeah, but I think those things, they work. That's why they're becoming so popular, and there's no stopping us. There's no stopping it. It's a good time to be a part of this kind of take back your health movement because it's just like there's just enough awareness that it's you're not considered fringe lunatic anymore. Yeah. But there's still so many people that need help. And that's what we're here to do. So. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's straight up like you said, it's like a snowball and it's getting bigger as it's going down the hill. There's no way to stop it now. I mean, somebody can try to come out with an article about fats are bad for you and sugar's better for you. Like literally there were articles like that for a long time. Yeah. Yep. And in medical school, they trained them they trained everybody with that kind of mindset. It was what got chiseled in stone and set as the thing in the 1950s. And that's a different kind of a story, but it's a different conversation, but I was just reading an article today that said, talked about how we were totally misled with like sugar's better for you and fat's bad for you. And there's a lot of articles that come out every once in a while. There was a big one in Newsweek not long ago, a couple years ago. There was Atlantic had a few. But I mean, generally, yes, people are talking about this and they're kind of going, oh, but we knew all along. There's this person you might not know or this scientist you might not know. And when we actually dig down deep, we actually realize that marketing, government regulators, lobbyists for the sugar industry and big food giants, they're the ones who have set the precedent on this stuff. But actually the majority of scientists, actual scientists, knew better and were trying to warn everybody against this entire thing of just, substituting cream and butter for things like, vegetable oils and margarine and, upping your sugar intake and giving kids like candy for every single Halloween or a birthday cake. I mean, sugar is a part of a kid's every single holiday. It's Christmas, it's every Easter, single meal, birthdays. Really? I mean, most families, like, they're waking up with cereal and Go-Gurt. There's that, too. And, juices all day and snacks and, The standard American breakfast is sugar with a side of sugar with sugar on top. I mean, it's crazy. And these kids, and we talk about... It's like they're indoctrinated into it, and it's hard. That's where it starts to go wrong, And then you switch over to some of the people that go through our progression and just real foodies in general. I mean, whether they do paleo or low carb or keto or whatever, it's just like things kind of start to work themselves out naturally. I think about my sister and her kids when we go there. They're complete real foodies. And her kids are just on another level, man. I mean, they're not obsessing about food all the time. They don't care about pizzas and cupcakes and all that stuff when they go to friends' houses because they know how they feel and how it makes them feel. And we get that kind of response from a lot of people in our community. But that also brought up a good point because I think we were talking about some of those other methodologies. Was there anything along those lines? We were talking about low carb, keto. I felt like there's a couple points that we hit on when we were sitting there talking. Yeah, I mean, there's we probably went all over the place, and I think we talked a little bit about quality. I mean, the restaurant we were at, what's the name again? Echo and Rick. Echo and Rick. Man, it's awesome. It's right here in Las Vegas. And
yeah, that's the place to go. That'll be our little thing when you come here.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to come back and go there. Yeah. And I'm going to take anybody here when I come back through town. But I'll let you know too.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally, I mean, it was good quality meat too, and looked good, tasted good.
It was a perfect meal, man. It was so good, so good.
Yeah. We talked about what you're up to.
Yeah,
we talked about some other stuff that you're doing and why you're trying to jump onto this movement bandwagon right now.
Yeah. Well, we feel like we have a really unique message, a really unique way of communicating it. I mean, it comes from a very genuine place, a lot of love, a lot of empathy, a lot of compassion, and at the same time, it's almost like it's a firm message. Like this is the way to do it, because we want people to experience freedom, and we want people to have confidence in, understanding what they're doing and why they're doing it, and understand it doesn't have to be complicated to work. Like it can be really, really simple. And we talked a little bit about, because I think I was telling you about how I'm trying to get everything put into this membership platform, and that's where we're at right now. Like we're trying to figure out something, and you had said a couple things, and I had relayed that to Colby after I left, about how like you feel like there's different levels that people are at, or organizations. There's that like startup level, and you're just trying to put things together, and then there's that level where people are like, I kind of recognize the name, and didn't you say something like that?
Yeah, it's
there's a few levels, and you're like, you're kind of in that mid level now, like it's like people know your name, like you're
of the phases of kind of like thinking about where people are. You just, and this is a message to any entrepreneur. First of all, we know it starts with why, and in your mission. And then the what you do comes after that, because nobody cares about what you do if you just start talking about what you do in an elevator tone. Nobody cares. They're going to ask, what do you do? But if you answer that, they won't care, and they won't remember. If you talk about the why, maybe not to everybody in an elevator per se, but just the idea is that you've got your mission, you've got your why. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a big part of the why that you guys do here at the gym and with SHT is just keeping everything simple. So you go in the gym, and the workout can be simpler than you think. And you're looking at food and thinking about the nutritional lifestyle that you want to try to, change the way you look at food, where your food comes from, and how to eat it. Even if you're really, really working out a lot, that can be much simpler than you think too. So it seems like that's a big key thing for what you guys have going on. That's different than what everybody else is talking about, and that's an important
simplicity, man. Simplicity. I think we talked about. A lot of times we have to complicate things to bring it back to a very simple, a simple way of doing things. And it's almost like you have to go through the complication and understand the complication to make it simple again, and come back and be like, you know what? Like, it's really not that complicated. But I had to go through that learning process to understand how uncomplicated it can be. But that is just one of our overriding values and principles, is simplicity and elegance and freedom, and making this work in a modern lifestyle, and understanding that it doesn't have to be complicated, and it just so happens that simplicity gives you everything that you're looking for.
Yeah, well, people today, man, we actually they're staring at laptops, they've got a ton of work to do. It's just different than the way things used to be. It's easier, and it's also not simpler. It's strange, but generally, like, people just, they're like, man, just give me the simplest way to do it.
Yeah.
And for me not to use too much brain power on this. Because if I go to, I'm not going to name a name, but a big box gym or something, and even work with some of their personal trainers, it feels like those guys are going to get you onto these protocols of protein shakes and all these different things. And it's just kind of the way it's gone for a long time.
Yeah.
And you might see some results, but at the end of the day, you realize
it's not livable.
Not only does it not feel natural, it doesn't feel like something you evolved to do.
It's not sustainable. It doesn't feel natural.
You're trying to cheat or biohack, and that's okay to biohack sometimes for fun, but not at the expense of like stressing yourself out and in the long run, either hurting yourself or just not being healthy, or I mean, I even know people that heard stories about people that work out a lot and they still got diabetes because they're
just doing the protein shakes,
glycemic load and
all that
protein
stuff
shakes,
all
that stuff was just way too much. And
I mean, if something like that works for you, I mean, that's great temporarily, but you got to look long term, sustainable, and something like this is is the way to go, and it just so happens to be better. Like it's just mind blowing. But
yeah, if you get this out there and it's the mission and the what you guys are talking about, I mean, I think that for you, yes, getting into that kind of next almost category of kind of people who have heard your name or saw your face or saw you speak at something or a conference or saw you give a talk. And who knows what'll come in the future. We'll have to stay tuned on your podcast, find out if you're going to do a book maybe. Or,
we're not, I'm telling you, I'm not going anywhere. Like I had this conversation with a couple people last year. I'm at this point, like, it's like, this is what I'm doing for a lifetime. And it's going to become like a nationwide or worldwide movement, or I'm going to die trying. Putting it together, because what else am I going to do? Like, I'm not going to go do anything else. Yeah. Like, I care. I want to help people. And I told you, last night, like, it's like, I understand, like, we were trying to build a business so that we can empower people. This is not with an intention to make money. Like, this is with an intention to help and heal and build a community and support the people that we work with, so it's going to go. It's got to go, because we're here for the right reasons,
I would take the why of whatever, and I just made it up about the keep it simple. Mm-hmm. But
well, if that's one of our values. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I hear you totally. The why underneath it all is to really just get people to. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you want to answer.
Well,
I was going to say.
Well, yeah. No, our mission statement is we are here to empower the planet with the freedom that comes from understanding, implementing, and experiencing our foundations for health. And when we say freedom, that means freedom to experience life as we were meant to live. Because once people start to plug into this info, they think they're coming in to lose some weight or whatever their specific aesthetic, or, maybe they have some symptoms they're trying to resolve or some, genuine medical conditions. Whatever that initial reason is to come into holistic health or the SHT is, little do they know, like, when everything changes, your entire life changes. The way that you show up, the way that you perceive things, it's unexplainable, but it happens. And that's what we mean by living life as we were meant to live, experiencing life as we were meant to live, because it truly is rediscovering how we were meant to live. It opens up a whole new world. It's beautiful and it's amazing. That's what we want for people. People get it. They start to work with us for a little bit and they're like, man, I feel different. I think about things different. I want different things. And I'm like, that's what we want for people right there. And you get the body composition changes and the energy levels, but it's like really about this mental, emotional, clarity, purpose, vision, stuff that just starts to happen automatically.
Well, they just need to know that if they come see you in whatever fashion that is, whether it be online or if it be, virtual, or if it be here at the gym or however, that they're going to get more than they expected walking through the door. Because everybody who comes in has already taken the step to come in. Mm-hmm. And that's a big step for people. Yeah. A lot of people just aren't. They don't think about it, or they might talk about it to themselves. I got to go. And then, but if they have, it's a big one. Yeah. But they have different goals. Yeah. And a lot of people just want to look good or whatever. But that will happen. I can tell you right now, we talk about simple or whatever, but the gym, I sat in on a couple workouts, videoed you guys, and then I did a workout this morning as a guest in there. And It'll bust your ass though, absolutely, when you wanted to and if you wanted to, and
that's what you want. That's what you want.
That's the idea. So it's not, the simplicity doesn't mean, it just means that
it doesn't mean it's not challenging.
Yeah. No, you get in there.
You want it to be challenging. You want it to be that's another great thing about this entire journey is you learn so much about yourself, and your mental, emotional triggers, cravings, urges. I don't know. It's really deep. That includes the food, it includes like other foundations, the fitness piece of it. Like, it's challenging, but there's no other way to live life than to be on path and to be engaged. I think that's what this kind of forces you to do, What do you got going on? Cause you
that's all good stuff.
Yeah. What do you got going on? Cause you said, we talked a little bit about you. You have a kind of like a side career that you're building, right?
Yeah. I've got a kind of been doing video stuff, been a videographer or a filmmaker for probably the last 15 years. I lived in LA for 10 years.
Mainly in the health and wellness industry?
No, actually not at all in health and wellness for a long period of time. That just kicked up I'd say about 5 years ago when I changed my own diet and started eating real food.
Yeah, because you're an NTP, right?
I'm an NTP, yeah. So I actually went to the NTA. A friend of mine had gone through the program, told me about it. I thought about it for a little bit and looked into it and said, this is the only program that's not a full master's degree that can actually teach me as much as I want to know about nutrition and the science behind nutrition. Which, as much as I want to know, is it's a 9-month program. It taught me to be a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I'm out and I'm able to work with other people and help them. So that's just what I wanted. Otherwise, I would have had to go through a lot of prerequisite courses and 2 years of school to go through, to get a master's. And I thought, but even that, a lot of that stuff is going to be, teaching the wrong direction. Stuff. Yeah. And they're getting better, I think, maybe. But so there's that. But I got back into doing video for the NTA. I noticed they needed some video updates. They hired me, and I'm working for them. But I'm also running a company called Clinton Street Media, and I'm based out of Portland, Oregon. But I can kind of go around, and I'm wanting to help people. I consult. I do audio and video and editing for mostly people who are entrepreneurs, people who just kind of think outside the box a little bit.
And mainly now in the health and wellness realm, is your preference to work with people? Because
that's a lot of people that I've been working with. But there are a couple other folks too. There's some there's some folks that are just in entrepreneurship in other ways. Yeah. And I feel like even helping them, I can right now working with some voice actors that help lawyers find their voice in the courtroom. And they're doing an entire, sort of 10 episode online course that's video that helps people, and so from an acting perspective and a confidence perspective. And even just filming videos with them and talking about things, I've kind of been able to influence them to, look at food a little differently.
Oh, that's cool.
And look at how all this is totally tied together.
Yeah.
So just have a range of clients and picking that up a little bit. The website's down at the moment, but it's going to be back up pretty soon. But that's something that I'm a part of.
Cool. Yeah, well, we'll definitely link to whatever resources you give us access to. And I think I definitely want to use you to revamp all our different, online curriculum videos and things like that.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll tell you, it really is where the future is for at least a certain percentage of a business.
Yeah.
And that pie for that business is starting to get bigger and bigger as the future goes on.
Yeah. Because I've realized we're an educational organization. Yeah. Education plus experience plus, support and community and all that. But I've moved away from being like an individual practitioner, and I still do that. I'll always do that. That's where I learn a lot. But we're more about like educating people and bringing people into this movement. So yeah, the online pieces. We had a conference call with someone today. I was realizing, man, it'd be cool to have you on there to just get your feedback with some of these demos with these platforms that we're trying to use. See what you think about it, since you've been involved in what the NTA's using. Probably looked at some other stuff, but. Dude, it's been great, man.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah. Really enjoyed my visit with you. And, who knew that, just out of someone coming down to do a little bit of videos, we'd have such good discussions. And I had such a good afternoon with you yesterday, man. It was great. It really was. Yeah, man. Well, it inspires me, what I see people doing. And we wanted to get out here and talk about just performance nutrition for this module. But we talked about a whole lot more. And talked about kind of the future of where things can go and what makes you guys different. And this has been great. Cool.
It's been fun, man.
Cool, man. All right, so signing out. That was a good little discussion.
For sure.
And see you next time you come to visit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll look you up next time I'm in town for sure. I don't know where I'll be staying. Somewhere near the Strip maybe with friends.
Yeah,
but
let me know. I'll come down there. We'll go to some other restaurants maybe. But Echo and Rick can be our special little place.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I got to go back there.
Cool.
Cool, brother.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Later.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, so remember, the purpose of this podcast is to support our SHT community and to be in your ear as a go-to resource for all things SHT.
If any of you have fallen off, if you need support, honestly, just come back and listen to some of these episodes. Get re-inspired, get re-motivated, and get re-engaged. If you're new to us, the best way to get started is by joining our newsletter at sht4life.com.
That's SHT4life.com. And you can also find us on Facebook at Superhuman Transformation, and then on Instagram, Superhuman Transformation, which you're doing an amazing job with.
Thank you.
And then also Twitter, it's SHT, the number 4 life. I think that's all we got.
See ya.